Casablanca about, just generally?
Casablanca is about Rick, who owns a bar.
That's Rick right there.
Morocco.
He owns a bar in Casablanca, Morocco.
During World War, or I guess it's at the beginning of World War II?
World War II,
Okay.
right.
And the love of his life comes into his bar.
Right.
And
Her name is Ilsa.
Ilsa.
Beautiful Ilsa.
And she's working with, she's
Married
to a resistance figure.
Right.
And
Victor, right there.
And they are trying to find a way to escape Morocco because the Nazis have found out his identity. Is that right?
Right. Well, the Germans are in control of Morocco.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so Casablanca is set in this bar in Morocco. Okay, Morocco is controlled by the Nazis, and the bar is kind of a hangout for Americans and French and Russians and other people who kind of want to have solidarity against the Nazis, right? And they're allowed to have this little space where they can have their own world, right? So this is the world of the story. Rick's bar is the world of the story, okay? But everybody's trying to get out, and Rick, the bar owner, happens to possess some papers of transport, is what they call them, which enables you to get out. And so he has this big favor to give to people. Now Victor, the great freedom fighter, part of the resistance against the Nazis, Victor is married to Ilsa. Ilsa and Victor were married, but she thought he was dead, and so she met Rick in Paris, and they had this wonderful affair. And then he disappeared, or she disappeared. And then Rick ended up running this bar in Morocco. He's this morose, negative guy. He's obviously hurt, he's heartbroken, but he's too kind of cynical and bitter to admit it. And then, one day, Ilsa comes to the bar with Victor. And Rick, his wounds are rubbed raw once again. And in this scene right here, this moment, Victor is begging Rick for those papers of transport. And Rick is saying, sorry, pal, I'm not giving you anything. You know, you took the love of my life. He doesn't understand the backstory yet. So he's really bitter and resentful. And he's saying, why don't you give me these papers? And Rick just said, why don't you ask your wife? Now, here's the concept I want to talk about. And this might be the most useful concept of storytelling you'll ever learn. Okay? It's the concept of beats. Okay? It's a theatrical concept. It's a cinematic concept. And basically what it says is this, is that every great scene, underline the words every and great, so there's kind of no exceptions to this. Every great scene is a series of small moments. They're called beats. And every beat somehow changes the trajectory of the scene. It changes the direction of the scene, okay? If that beat didn't happen, then the rest of the scene doesn't happen. That's consequential, right? That really matters. And so what you need to do when you're building a scene is the details you need to use are the beats that matter. Now, a lot of times in your career, whether you're a TV reporter or a writer or whatever, you're going to have an editor that says, hey, can you give me some details on that? And oftentimes the editor is kind of clueless about what a real detail is, truly. They'll just say, I don't know, what color dress was she wearing? Or, what was the lighting like? Just something, put me in the scene, would ya? That's what the editors will say. And that's okay as far as it goes, but the concept of beats teaches us that the details we use have to matter, or else they don't belong. If they don't do something to move the story forward, they don't matter, and they shouldn't be there. You're basically wasting your reader's time, or your viewer's time, if you write documentaries or films or dramas or whatever, right? They waste the reader's time, but even worse, they kind of misdirect the reader, right? So if there was a detail, and we're going to watch this again because I want to point out the beats. If there was a beat, if there was a detail in there that was totally irrelevant to what was happening in the scene, then it would confuse the reader. It would be like a feint, like a fake, like a decoy. And everything has to matter for one reason or another. So a beat is a moment that moves the story forward, that changes the direction or the trajectory of the story, that makes possible the next step, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And if you have beats in there that are somehow irrelevant, then cut them out, because they're no good. So they're having this argument in Rick's office in a back room of the bar when they hear this noise, and then they go out and they check out what's going on in the bar. Okay, the Germans start to sing. That's a beat. That changes everything. Victor and Rick come out, they end their argument, right, in the back room. That changes something, right? If they don't go out, nothing else happens. Louis, the French prefect, observes, wonders what to do. He looks at Rick. Rick doesn't do anything. So Louis not going to change anything. So that changes something. Ilsa, Victor walked over. That changes something. Now she looks worried. He tells them, "Play la Marseillaise. Play it." They don't know what to do. The band leader looks to Rick. Rick knocks. That's a beat. They start to play it. They didn't have to play, even though Rick said to go ahead, but they had the courage to do it. The Germans try to pump it up a little bit. They want to win this battle of the bands, but people are standing up all over. Now, if people didn't stand up all over, probably the other stuff in the scene doesn't happen either. Now people are totally getting emotionally into it. She's transformed. Look at those eyes. There's watery eyes. She's emotionally transformed. She has commitment now she never did before. She's worried here. She's saying, "Victor, why'd you have to do this?" Victor exposes himself. He's completely open. Now she's transformed. She totally loves him now. It's not a marriage of convenience anymore. Everybody gets up. They're emotionally carried away. She's totally into it. Victor is again exposed. He's the leader of the whole place. She's transformed. They're pissed off. They're celebrating. Again, they're continuing to expose themselves to the Germans, who can really punish them, by the way. This took courage. And then Strasser, the Nazi leader, goes over and says, "Shut down the bar." And then Louis says, "But everybody's having such a good time." And he says, "Yes, far too good a time." He says, "But there's no reason to shut it down." And he says, "Find one." Here, Strasser is the German officer. He told Louis, who is the French prefect, who basically is the administrative arm of the Nazis under this system. He tells him to shut the bar down, and so that changes the whole story. Up until now, the bar is like the safe zone for all of the anti-Nazi resistance, and now the bar is shut down. So I said every story is about change. Every scene is about change, right? If you have a scene that ends up where everybody's kind of in the same situation at the end as they were at the beginning, you've written a lousy scene. Sorry. So every scene you write has to be about change, and this one is. Okay, what else happens? Can anybody add some details?
When she's young at the end of Viva France.
Right. Viva la France, yeah.
Okay,
now you don't know the whole story, but early in the movie she got drunk and had some relationship with Rick. She's Russian. And Rick just said, "Enough of you, I don't want to hang out with some drunk lady." And so he packed her in a cab and said, "Get out of here, I don't want to see you." And then the next day she comes to the bar with a Nazi. So she's just looking for some way to get back at Rick. And she's so taken by this event that she changes back to being against the Nazis. So she's someone who doesn't have much courage and doesn't have much commitment, but she's so moved by this scene that she shouts "Viva la France," even though she came there that night with a Nazi. So there's some change there too. The scene, 2 minutes, 2 little short minutes, totally transforms not only the story, but many, many of the characters, right? They're all brought out. They're all brought out of a particular shell in that one scene. Even Rick, the cynic, who still has a long way to go before he gets over his petty jealousy. He's still transformed. He's brought out. He allowed this scene to happen. at the risk of shutting down his bar. And he knew that the Nazis would punish him for this kind of uprising. So even Rick, who pretends to be cynical and pretends not to care about some stupid freedom cause, even Rick is transformed.